Hello, everyone. Welcome to Tuesday Night Live. What did I do? There it is. So, Stampin' Up! Is trying to get more people to look at the blog. And so soon they will be offering a free PDF if you give them your email address, which if you're one of my customers, they already have it. So here's a way to get a free card template. It'll go up on the blog soon. So let's take a look at that. Let's see. I just put this away. This is the January product of the month. And you can purchase this for $5 when you have an order of $75 or more here in the US. And that is before you deduct any of your Stampin', or after you deduct your Stampin' rewards or any coupons that you may have. So once you take your rewards off, the total still must be $75 in order for you to get this for $5. And it is also bonus days right now. So with every $50 that you order, you will receive a $5 bonus coupon in your email box for each $50 that you spend. And again, that is after any rewards or discounts, or not discounts, but coupons. Okay. So let's go ahead and see who's on. I don't think I have any more announcements to make. Let's see if I can get this up. When you know it, I came in here to get started tonight and something had to update and kick me out of everything. So I had to re-sign in. Hello, Cynthia. Hello, Jennifer. Still not back into my email account, but I couldn't get in and get the little, they want to do one of those little, they got to send you a text to make sure you're who you say you are. And of course, I'm live, so I can't do that. So let's talk about what we're doing tonight. We're going to make a couple of cards, and we're going to mash up a bunch of products to make our cards. So for the first one, we're going to start with the Valentine Kisses. And from this stamp set, I'll be using this bear and this sentiment, Bear Hugs and Kisses. And then I think that's it. Okay. And then we're going to be using the Endless Love stamp and dies. So we're going to be using this image here, plus the Sending You, but I'm just going to use Sending. And then I think that's it from here. And of course, we'll be using that coordinating die to cut that out. But if you don't have it, you could easily just hand cut that. No worries. And then to really throw things off a bit, we're going to be using the Just a Note bundle. This is in the Last Chance. And so we're going to be using this notebook image, and then we're going to be using the die. Okay? A couple of these dies here. So let's go ahead and get started. That's what we're using. Oh, and the Hearts of Love 3D embossing folder. So we're going to be using this too. I told you it was a big old mashup. All right. So let's get out our supplies. We have a card base of Pretty in Pink, and this is a standard A2 5.5 by 8.5. I've scored it in the middle at 4 1/4. So we can take and give that a good burnish. All right. And then we have a piece of basic white. This piece is 4 by 5 1/4, and I run that through the hearts embossing folder, that 3D embossing, what is it called? Hearts of Love 3D embossing folder. And we're going to add that to our card front. And then we've got a piece of basic white, and I've cut this with the die right here, this die from Just a Note out of Pretty in Pink. I've cut this die right here from Just a Note. And then we've got a piece of Real Red, and this piece is 3 1/4 by 4 1/4. And then I've die cut from the Endless Love. I cut the banner die there for our sentiment. We're going to use that. And that's in basic white. And then I'm going to do a little bit of stamping here. And I've pre-done some of this because I didn't want you to have to spend all the time watching me color. Okay. So we need one of these little bears, and we're going to stamp that in Early Espresso. So we need one of those. And that wasn't very good. Let's try that again. Give it a real good inking so that it works properly. Hello, Laura. Hi, Tracy. Thank you. I love mashing up. It's one of my very favorite things. Okay, so we're going to take Strawberry Slush and that double heart from Endless Love. And we're going to stamp this, and everything is probably not going to fit on this one piece of paper. So we're going to stamp that, and then we need some Memento Tuxedo Black, and we're going to stamp. Well, we need this for the inside. I think this is on the inside. We need a big bear. We need a big bear for the inside of our card, and that's not going to fit there. So hang on. That's okay. I'm just going to do the little one on the outside. So we need this one. You need a big bear. Let's grab a scrap here and see if this will fit. Oh, look, a scrap that's big enough. Yay! Okay, so we've got that. Big bear, little bear. And then we're going to stamp Bear Hugs and Kisses inside our little heart here. But before we do that, we're going to take a little bit of Pretty in Pink and a blending brush. And we're going to put just a little bit of ink inside that heart. Okay. Just like that. Okay. And then we're going to take the Bear Hugs and Kisses sentiment in Real Red. I'm going to stamp that right inside that heart. Okay. I'm going to take some Poppy Parade, which I stuck over in my other bin because we're going to use it on our second project as well. And from Valentine Kisses, you've got this real tiny little stamp that has two little smooches. And we're going to put that right there by the kisses. Okay. Now, while we've got that out, we're going to pull in our real red cardstock and a scrap paper here. And I'm going to take these little smoochies and I'm going to randomly stamp them around the edge, leaving extra room between, because we're going to put another image in here. Notice how I turn my stamp and the paper. That way my image is all over the place and looks very random. Okay, so now I'm going to take the XOXO, and this time I'm going to take the real red, and again, I'm going to randomly stamp this in between those little hearts, and that's just going to make me an interesting border. Some of these are full, some of them are not. Going off the page to really make it look random. Okay, so that's what I have. And I can put this away, I think. I think we're done with that. Oh no, we got one more to stamp with that. Bring that real red back in. And then we're going to grab stamp positioning tool. And I'm going to bring in this notebook paper. And I'm going to stamp this. I'm going to stamp those lines. Just going to put this in here. Make sure that's where I want it. And then we're going to ink it up. And this is the way I find I really like to do this particular image. What do with my little press thingy? Where'd that go? Should be right here. Okay, there we go. We've got it. So we've got that now. So now we've got our notebook lines. We can go ahead and I'm going to clean that real quick so I don't end up with a mess. On my carrier sheet there. Okay, there we go. Let's put that away. We're done with that. All right, so now what we have left, I believe, is we need our sentiment here. So we're going to take the basic black again, and I'm going to take the words sending you. I'm going to clean that off because I have a hair on there, and that might have left a little streak that I don't want in the word. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure I don't have any lint or anything else on there. Okay, now there's plenty of room here. You could just mask that off with a piece of tape, or you can do what I'm going to do and put it on the edge of your ink pad. Ink that up. And then I'm going to stamp this at the back to the right because I want to tie a bow up here and I want to put an embellishment. So I'm going to stick sending back here a bit so I have room for everything. Okay. And because that's photopolymer, that's pretty easy to do. Okay. So there we have our pieces. We can start putting things together. So we're going to add this piece to our real red. And when we do that, we're going to take our little paper clip here. And I'm going to stick this on here like this with the little part there. And I'm going to try and get that so that I have that dip in the heart halfway between that top. Now, is it critical if I don't? No, not critical at all. I'm going to go ahead and put a little bit of liquid glue on here where this is going to go on the back of the paper. And then I'm going to put just a little dot right there. Little. I don't want a bunch, I just want little. Okay? Just enough to hold that on. And then I'm going to just slide this in here like this. And give that a good press. Okay? And now my little paper clip won't come off. Okay? So I think we're okay now to take and adhere this. Just going to put a little bit on the back there. And then we're going to center this piece up as best we can. All right, so we've got that. Then our bear here, we're going to color really quickly. Show you how I did that. I did a little bit of light smoky slate in the ears and on his muzzle, missing his lips. Okay. Put a little bit of dark petal pink on the lips here and on the cheeks. And then I'm going to take my light basic black and this is basically how I did the large bear as well. So I'm not going to actually color him. I'm just going to take some black around the ears here where there would be dark shadows. And then a little bit here. And then down into the arms here. And here. Okay. And I'm going to carry this down just a little bit further so that when I cut it out, I've got everything I need here and I don't end up with any white. Then I'm going to go back with my dark smoky slate. I'm going to blend this all together. And what I found with this bear is that go over that basic black where you went with that. Color this all in. And then you'll need to go back over that again. And the only way to really get that to blend good is to give that bear a second coat And the other thing that does is darken him up so that it looks more black than gray. And you can do that then without losing definition. Okay, and then I would do that on this bear here. For my little bear for the inside, I used a little bit of crumb cake on the muzzle, a little bit on the belly. You don't need to, most of the belly isn't going to show. And then I basically filled this in with light pecan pie. Okay. Now all of these images have dies. So once you get them colored, then you can take the coordinating dies and cut them out. Okay. So you've got one for that. You've got one for this. One for this. And I did that so you can get all of these really in one cut on your large cut and emboss. Okay. Now when you cut this, so there's all of our pieces. Now what I do is throw these back here so they don't get lost. And when you're done, then you will have these pieces. Oh, I actually didn't fill that in. Okay. So there's that piece of pretty in pink we cut that heart out of. All right. And here's our bear. Now what I did with this one is that when you die cut this guy, it gives you a cut at the top and the bottom of his arms. I took and trimmed up just a little bit further with my paper snips on the arms. You don't have to, but I did because I wanted this to sit down in here just a little bit further. And the easiest way for me to do that and still get the arms to hold out was to cut that just a little bit deeper, so I've got that. Okay, so let's go ahead now. I'll grab that blending brush and fill that in. And that's going to give us just a little bit of color. Take away that white. I'm going to grab that Poppy Parade again. And make sure my lips are going the right direction. And there we go. Okay. So now we are ready to start putting our things together. Okay. So we can add this piece to our card base. Just like that. Okay, and then we can add this piece to our card base. And again, I'm going to use liquid glue because I'm going over a 3D embossing folder. And I'm going to put that in here, like that. And then I'm going to take my bear my half a bear here. I'm going to put a dimensional on its head. And then I'm going to put just a little bit of liquid glue down here at the bottom. Okay, I'm not going to pull that off yet. I'm going to put my bear right here on that bottom line. And I'm going to let that sit for just a second. And while that's drying, I'm going to bring in my sending. I'm going to bring in strawberry slush this time. Is that what I used? Hang on just a sec. Let me look at that. Or did I use? Yeah, I think I did. I'm using the same blending brush. And I'm going to give this, the paper stuck to the silicone mat there. The silicone mat's great for this because it'll hold that paper and not let it move. Okay, so now I've got that ready to go. Now we're going to take some of the real red and white peppermint twine. And then I've already tied this into a bow. And I'm going to roll over this glue dot. I like to use my take your pick tool to make that into a log. Then I'm going to put that on the knot on the back. And I'm going to stick this here. Then I'm going to flip that over. I'm going to put another glue dot on that knot on the back side. And then I'm going to take a dimensional and put it in the middle and remove that. Let's bring our card base back in. I'm going to put this up here like so, and I'm not pressing hard yet because it's time to put this in place, and I need to make sure that everything's going to go exactly where I want it. And right now I think I want to move this down about right there. Now I can go ahead and press that into place. This I'm going to put down flat. You can use whatever adhesive makes you happy. We'll press this in here like so, making sure our sentiment is straight. And then I can reach in and pull the backing off of that dimensional and give that a press. Okay, that gives my bear a little bit of dimension. And we are almost through with this card. What do we have left? We need to grab the loose Valentine's assortment. And I want one of these hearts. Oh, where'd it go? One of these. And I want a pair of lips. The idea here is to put that pair of lips so that that makes a trio there. And I'll bring this in here a little bit more. And then I'm going to take an envelope on this sending here. Okay. All right, so we just need a little bit of liquid glue. I'm going to pick this up with the putty end of my take your pick. Put a little glue dot there. Set that back down. Okay, do the same thing here. I need a smaller dot of glue. There we go. Now, I have two take your pick tools. If you don't have two take your pick tools, just take your pointy tool off of the end and use that. And that works really well too. Okay, so now we've got that, and the last thing we need to do on the outside anyway is take a little bit of Wink of Stella and add it right there. Give those just a little bit of a shine. Okay, and there is the front of our card. So for the inside of the card, what did I do with my envelope? Because I had that all ready to go. Here it is. Okay, so now I've stamped Happy Valentine's Day. And then for the envelope, I did the same thing with the bear hugs and kisses. And I'm going to go ahead and just throw a little bit of ink blending in there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Now, when I did the Happy Valentine's Day, this is 3 stamps, okay? So I laid the Valentines down on a piece of grid paper, okay? I laid that down, and then I laid my happy and my day underneath it until I was happy with it. Then I picked up all 3 stamps at once so that I could stamp that down just like that in real red, okay? And once I had it all together, then I was good. So now I'm going to take my bear here, and to ensure that doesn't move, I don't want my little teddy bear to move there. I'm going to take my take your pick tool. I'm going to pull up a glue dot. I'll put on either side there. And then that way I know they won't move. I can add some Stampin' Seal. Add that to the inside of my card. And then we can add this. Right here. Ready to go. Okay, there is project number 1. There we go. All right, let's get these out of the way, and then we'll start on project number 2. We're doing good for time. Yay! Okay, let me go ahead and put these away so they don't get lost. To put them in there. All right. And we need to wipe this down because we do not need ink where it doesn't belong. And believe me, it's red ink. It'll get everywhere, and then I'll have ink where I don't want it. So I hope you like that card, and the mashup is totally different from what you would expect, but I think it's adorable. All right, everybody, thank you. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're going to do a little switch out here. Switching out my dirty stamps that I don't need. I think I still need this one, which I'll need to clean. And I need this one. Okay. And I'm done with this one. So let's see if we can get these out of the way. And then I'll probably need something, right? Because I set them far away, because that's the way things usually work, right? Okay, so we've got these. Let's go ahead and clean this. I think I'm still using Poppy Parade, but actually I've already stamped that, so we'll be fine. Okay, project number 2 is a fun fold. Super easy fun fold. And we're going to be using Secret Sea, Pool Party, Daffodil Delight, Bubble Bath, and Poppy Parade for this one. So there's your color palette. All right. For this one, in addition to the, no, we're not using the Endless Love. Never mind. We're using the Made with Love Designer Series paper on this one. So still part of that same suite. We're going to be using this pattern and this pattern out of the Made with Love. Okay. So we're going to start with a card base that's standard A2. It's an A2, 5.5 by 8.5. But this time we're going to score this a little differently to get our fun fun. So let's bring in our scoring tool, because this is my scoring tool of preference, the Simply Scored. So on the 8.5-inch side, we're going to score this at 1.25 and 5.5. Okay, that's as simple as that fun fold gets. Okay, so then we're just going to fold this and burnish. So we folded this large piece in, and then we're going to fold the small piece also in. Now, you may find that your paper is a tiny bit more than 8.5. And that's the case with this piece. It's just a tiny bit more, and that's just the way it was manufactured. They're allowed to have just a tiny bit of overage or underage on the measurement. So I'm just going to take and put this right at the dark part of my track there. And I'm just going to slice off that tiny little piece. That was over just about a 1/16 of an inch. So now when I lay this down, I have what I need. Okay? So let's get our Designer Series paper. We've got this Made with Love. This piece is 1 inch by 5.25, and it's going to go over here. And then this piece is 2 3/4 by 5.25, and we're going to put it over there. So let's go ahead and add those to our card base. You're seeing this, how I actually started on designing this, which is backwards for me. Usually I do the decoration and then I worry about everything later. But on this particular one, I picked the Designer Series paper and the card base first, and the fun fold. A little bit different for me. And then I decorated. Okay, so we'll just add this here and center it as best we can. And I'm going to look at these 3 sides, and if I get those pretty even, then my 4th side should be good. Okay, so now this is what we have. All right. So I've taken from the Beautifully Celebrated dies, and I've cut this piece in basic white, and this is the third largest of the 6. Okay, cut that in basic white. And we need to do a little bit of ink blending on this. So we're going to bring back in that scrap paper. We're going to bring in some Pool Party ink and a Pool Party blending brush. And let's make sure that I can, yeah, this should be good. Okay, so we're going to ink that up a bit. And then I'm just going to put some color on here to make this kind of look like a sky. And that's the idea anyway. I don't care if it's perfect. I don't care if I have swirls. If it looks like clouds, all the better. Okay. Now, to this then we can add, we need to add a bee trail. So we're going to take some bubble bath because I wanted a real light bee trail. You know what? I think I'm going to switch this up. And I think I'm actually going to use Pool Party and see how that works. Last minute change of mind here. Let's ink that up. And we're going to put this about right here. Just like that. I like that. I like it a lot. Okay, so we've got that. Now, we need to bring in some other pieces because this is ready for our card now. So let's grab some pieces of cardstock. We need a piece of vellum. And we need 2 scraps of basic white. And then we also need a scrap of early espresso. And I've pre-die cut those. What I've done is I've cut 2 tiny little trees. And you might be wondering where those are from. Well, they just happen to be in the Beautifully Celebrated. So where we got our shape die, we're also getting our tree. Okay. So let's go ahead and get our images stamped and punched. We're going to bring in the Be My Valentine bundle. This is a stamp and punch. I don't know if it's still offered as a bundle or not. It's in the annual catalog. Not sure if it's still a bundle. This was from last year and it carried over. So we're going to be using the bee bodies, the wings, the winky face, and of course we use the bee trail. And then we're also going to be using this sentiment, "You're as sweet as honey." Okay, so that's what we're using from there. We're going to start with Daffodil Delight. I'm going to go ahead and put these on my silicone mat. I like to stamp the solid surface first. Hopefully I'm using the right pieces. Okay, wait a minute. Where is my punch? Gotta look at my punch. Okay, I want to stamp my bee body up here. Right? And yeah, because it won't matter. Okay, so we're going to stamp this up here like this. Okay, I think I'm doing this right. Oh, I hope so. And then I'm going to use Secret C. You could use black if you want. I'm going to use Secret C. And I need to see that punch again. I'm going to put this in here like this. So my body has to go this way. So I'm going to line that up. And stamp that down. And I'm going to let that sit for a minute because I want that ink to really soak in. Okay. Oh, I need that secret C again. Let's not go anywhere with that. Okay. Okay, so now I've got my bee body. Let's go ahead and punch that out. Ooh, and I didn't give myself enough room. Okay, so if you do this to yourself like I just did, let's grab a little piece of Post-it note and I'll just stick this up here and that will extend my paper enough for me to get that in the punch. Line that up. Whoa, it moved on me. Okay, let's do it this way. Maybe I can do it better this way. My hand strength is not what it used to be. Okay, now we've got that. Now I can turn this around because this is actually the way I want my bee to face. Got a little sliver there I don't want. I don't need those, so I can toss those. I'm going to get my bee face and my secret C. And I'm going to put this right there. All right. I'm going to take the secret C again. And from Banner Sayings, I'm taking the word happy birthday. That was in the November online exclusives. So I'm going to take this Banner birthday. I'm going to ink that up. And then I'm going to take the Banner Punch, which should be back in stock by January 26th. And I gotta think about this for a second because I want it to go, okay, so I want it to go this way. And I should have probably just punched the banner. It's just as easy to punch the banner and stamp it, but there we are. So now we've got our sentiment. We're good to go there. And then with some scraps, and I mean we just need scraps, there are two little birds in the Sweet Valentine, in the Valentine Kisses right here. We're going to use this one too. So you've got these two little birds, and we also need the honey jar there. So again, I'm going to take these and I'm going to stamp them. I need 3 of these, but I've already stamped and die cut, so I'm just going to show you those. And then you need a honey jar. Okay. So the honey jar is going to be colored in Flirty Flamingo up here at the top. And then I used Light Darling Duckling to make that look like honey. Okay. And this is where the XOXO comes in. We're going to take that XOXO and the Poppy Parade. And we're going to stamp that right on the label. Right there, and it's a perfect fit. Okay? I think that is all of the stamping. And then we're going to color our birds. I'm only going to color one of these. I'm going to do dark barley blue on his wing. A little bit of darling duckling for the beak. And then I'm going to finish him off in a light balmy blue. Just like that. And then I added a little wink of Stella to that wing. Okay. Now, these little birds have dies. And I'm going to give you a little tip here. Laura came up with this idea. These dies are really, really little, and you can take them and twist them all around to try and find. So once you get that done, take a little Sharpie, put just a little bit of dot at the beak, and that way you'll know which die goes to which bird and right how that's supposed to line up. So if you put that little dot at the beak and you remember that, then you're going to know that that's exactly how you need to line those up to cut them. Now you need 2 birds that are facing this direction and 1 bird that is facing that direction. Okay. And then of course there's a die cut for this as well. So let's go ahead and grab those out because we are ready to put this together. So here we go. Got our little birds here. Don't want them to disappear. Okay, let's set this all aside and let's bring in our decorations here. Oh, wait a minute. We do have one more thing. Sorry. Let's get this done now so this can get a little drying time. Okay, so we need to do the wings on our bird. So we're going to take that pool party and we're going to take some clear embossing powder and we're going to make those wings look like they're a little bit on the gossamer side. So we're going to take some vellum and I'm going to just use an embossing buddy here and take some Pool Party ink and I'm going to ink this up and I'm going to take a look at that punch again. I want to punch these over here like so. And because this is vellum, that ink will not dry immediately. But I do have to get it picked up. And then we're just going to pour a little bit of clear over the top. That's going to let that pool party shine through. Set that way out of the way. Then we'll heat up our heat tool. And vellum heats up very quickly. I like to heat it from the underneath. Once you see it go shiny, you're done because you will burn the vellum if you don't. Okay, and we don't want to burn the vellum. So there we go. That is Oh, I've got one little spot right there that is not quite heated. The top of that wing. All right, there we go. Okay, so now we're going to give that just a second to cool. Punch that out. Hopefully I gave myself enough finger room this time. Angle that in there just so it fits. Give that a punch. All right. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to put some Wink of Stella right here. This is why I needed it to have time, a little bit of time to dry. Because that Wink of Stella is not going to dry as quickly as it would on paper. Okay, I'm going to set that aside over here to dry out of the way, and then we'll start putting this together. Okay, so we've got our card base, we've got our little birds, we've got our tree. So what we're going to do is we're going to set this right here like so, right? I'm going to put a tree here. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's go ahead and actually glue both of our trees. I'll put the glue on them anyway. I mean, that's what I meant. Okay, so we're going, one of these I'm going to cut, and one of them I am not. So one of these I don't want to glue all the way down, most of the way, but not all the way. And that's going to depend on where we put our beautifully celebrated die. Okay, so just a dot here and there will work for that. Actually, this is the one I'm going to use the full one on, so I can do this. Okay. So I'm going to set this down here. Put this tree like this, kind of. Okay. Whoa. Now, I like to take these and just take a block and go like that to make sure that's all nice and stuck. Now this is ready to put on our card. And I can only do 2/3 of the gluing, otherwise I'll glue my card shut. So I'm just gonna run some glue down there. And I can add this right here, like so. What did I do with my sample? It disappeared in the little tray. I hid it. Let me take a look at that, see if I need to go up a bit. No, I think I'm good right there. I think I'm good right there. Okay, so now I've got this. Now this is going to determine where my other tree goes. So I need to put this tree here. And remember, this tree we're going to cut off just a tiny bit. Now you could have used adhesive sheets on this, but you'd have to remember to use them. And then you'd have to be willing to peel it all off. And I find with this fine tip glue bottle, I just don't have that much trouble. Oh, there I am, not even hitting the branch there. Okay, so I've got that. Now I'm going to take and flip this over and put this tree right down here like this. And I need to make sure that it doesn't go off my card or off my piece here, so I'm just going to do that. Again, I'm going to use a block to give that a good press. Anything that sticks over, I'm going to snip off. I don't need it. And now our wings for our butterfly should be nice and dry, and they are. So we're going to take a couple of glue dots here. And I'm going to add that to the vellum down there at the bottom. And then we're going to add that to our bee. So I'm going to lay this down like that. And I'm going to take the bee to my wings and give that a press. Okay. Now this guy is going to go up on dimensionals. And I'm going to put a dimensional there where my wings come together. And 3 is probably overkill, but we're doing it anyway. My bee is going to go right here at the end of my bee trail, like so. Okay, now we're almost done. I'm going to take these little birds. I'm going to take one of these facing left. I'm going to take a mini dimensional. And I'm going to put it as far away from the beak as I can. So here on the back side, right there like that. And this little guy is going to go down here on the tree. Let's get him actually on the tree here so he looks like he's on the tree. Like so. And hang on. I got that where I don't want it actually. Gotta get that there. Give that a good press down. And then his little beak should conceivably hold that together. Bet it doesn't want to. I should, hang on. Let's see if we can come up a bit without breaking anything. Give him a little bit more right there. There we go. Now we hold a little bit better. You could have a bigger embellishment that would work a little bit better, but this was the corner of my celebrated die is holding up top there. There we go. Okay, well, it's not going to stay exactly, but that was the idea anyway. And then we're going to take these guys and add them on. I need a little bit stronger. I should have doubled up my cardstock. That's what I'm trying to say. Doubled up my cardstock. So I'm going to put one bird here. Oh, I've got 2 facing the wrong direction. That's okay. I'm going to do it anyway. I needed 2 left and 1 right, and I have them the wrong way. That's okay. I'm just going to do this. It'll be fine. It will be fine. I'm going to put one down here. Okay. That's going to bug me. I want that to close. Stay closed. My little birdie's beak is not doing its job there. Okay. Anyway. Then we're going to take our happy birthday and some dimensionals. Stick this up here like so. And then for the final touch to the front, I'm going to take a little trinket, a little tiny bee trinket. These are still current and in the catalog. And I'm going to take a glue dot. I'm going to take your pick tool. And put that on my bee. I'm going to add my bee right here at the end of my bee trail. Okay. Okay, and there is the front of our card. Okay. I hope you like that one. And then for the inside of this, I've taken that honey jar and You're as Sweet as Honey, stamped that in the Secret C, added a piece of the Made with Love Designer Series paper. And then we're just going to stick this in the center here. And this card is finished. All right, there we go. And then for the envelope, I took those little birds and the little trail there and stuck that on my card. Okay, there you are. There's project number 2. You know, I'm going to go back and put a second. I'm going to use thick basic white 2 or 3 times to make that work. You'll see it in the photos. All right, everybody. Thanks for coming. I will be back on Thursday. I'll give you a quick little sneak peek of the project for Thursday. We're making a shaker box. I will see you Thursday night on YouTube at 7. And if not, I'll be back here next Tuesday night at 7 p.m. right here on Facebook. Thank you. Have a good week, everybody. Good night.